Welcome. I'm Ada Kay, your deaf courtroom commentator, breaking down the gripping courtroom drama, providing ASL interpretation when possible, while making justice accessible to everyone. Grab your favorite cup of Java and let's dive in. Good morning. Good morning. Take two. We just hopped out of one hearing and now we're here for a second hearing. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you so very much. We have a lot to talk about with this trial, this case. I am new to this case, but I am not new to the company in which is connected to this case. The heiress to the creative stamping art world company called Stampin Up. The daughter of the founders, unalived her husband. We have another Donna Adelson trial here, a little bit differently, but in a lot the same. She was in a bitter divorce, and the unaliving was over the children, as far as I understand it. We're going to look at that a little bit. Please give me a split second. I am doing the giveaway, getting that ready and up and running, so y'all have a chance to enter into our end of the month drawings. I'm trying to find a court feed for this particular hearing this morning. First Coast. It doesn't appear to have a feed up yet, but the woman who has been charged with his crimes is the daughter of the Stampin' Up company founders and CEO. Thank you so much, first in chat, Flashfan 85, out and about with Diane, Miss June, my fabulous lawn, Angela. Thank you so much for joining, Sweet Magnolia, and of course, I'd like you to check out possibly the Aaron Spencer case in Arkansas. I wasn't sure if you looked or heard about it. I think I have. I'm not sure. Angela, if you are part of our Discord family, we have a section in our Discord that says, let me get to it, member info drop. If you go to our Discord, and we'll have to, let me do this. If you go to our Discord, and we both did it at the same time, June. If you go to our Discord, register, log in, register, validate your account, and then go over to the member info drop off. Please drop that information off there so I can go in a little bit and I can hop on in. Oh, thank you, Miss June. Is that the live feed? No, but it is a breakdown of the case. So we're going to talk a little bit about this trial. Here's the feed. Hopefully the feed will come up. Everything's moving kind of a little slow this morning on there. And yeah, that's the same feed I have, June. Thank you for giving it to me. Let me knock that down. I got to move windows around, y'all. I really could use 2 more monitors. I kid you not, and I have 4 already. Everything has to be big for me. So let me get this. Come on, quit doing that. It'd be nice to have one thing on a monitor, not four things on a monitor. There is a playlist in Discord that has hearings. Yes, there is Flashfan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this case. But before I do, let me pull up the Stampin' Up website. So you guys have an idea of what this company is about. I adored this company. I really, really, really did. It was a wonderful company. I would still be a part of that company, but I just don't have the place or the room to do this anymore. I loved Stampin' Up. I really did. This is the website for Stampin' Up. And by the way, this is no reflection on the owners or Stampin' Up as a company. I'm just educating you. Hi, Ms. Wugger. How are you? Thank you guys for joining Out and About with Diane. All of you, you're ready for this trial. I've been following since before anyone was charged. Well, good to know because I'm just hearing about this. I am not in that neck of the woods. I had no idea this had happened. I was a Stampin' Up demonstrator for 10 years. I love, love, love them and wish I was still able to do it. But this is a sample of what they sell and what they provide. It is something that I absolutely adore. These are just some of the products. Let me see if I can get, do they have, where's the catalog? Okay, we'll just do the stamps. So you can buy the stamps sets from them. Oh, Drama Llama! They come in these little packets like this, and then they give you an example of how it's used. Absolutely adore them. I miss doing it. I am tempted to get them out now and start doing it again. I always used to make my own cards for Christmas and everybody. We are still in the verdict watch for Ali Ali, but they have not started yet. Does not start until 11 Central, correct. But this is the company. I just wanted you guys to get kind of a feel for the company, as not a lot of people know about the company. So anyway, that's Stampin' Up. The owners are two sisters who started this corporation years ago. It's become a multi-million dollar company. Multi-million. You know the case very well, but you didn't know the business. And y'all understand, this is July is our 1-year anniversary month. And back when all this happened, I was not following court trials on YouTube or court TV or anything like that. So she's definitely loaded. She has Joe's bones. But now we're following it, and now I'm like all in. So in Jacksonville, Florida, Shanna Gardner and her estranged husband Mario Fernandez, who are accused of plotting and having her ex-husband Jared Bridegan killed in 2022, will be back in court today for another pretrial hearing. The Discord link expires after the end of the live. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I am covering multiple hearings today, guys. Multiple. We have 3 hearings, and we have the verdict watch. So I will be bouncing from live to live. I've had some requests to break up when we have multiple hearings, more than 2. So that's what we're doing. So anyway, the hearing was originally scheduled for June 6th, but experienced multiple delays and takes place at 2 p.m. Thursday. What? 2? That's not correct. The trial is currently set to begin October 20th. Earlier pretrial hearing, the state said that it provided both defense team with its complete discovery inventory of the Jacksonville sheriff. Richardson, the father of 4, was lead-shotted down in his SUV. On February 16th of 2022, he stopped to move a tire that was blocking the road. That was a trap. I presume he was taking his normal route home after dropping off the twins he shared with Garner at her Jacksonville Beach home. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. If they did, we'll follow it. According to the police reports, or they may have changed it after this write-up. Okay. Really? Oh, Walker, do you know what? I might have you come on and give us a rundown. Um, so anyway, he was gun sound outside his home. According to the police reports, the admitted gunman, Henry Tenon, fired 4 shots. 2 hit Bredigan and 2 hit the SUV. Tenan, a former tenant of Fernandez, pled guilty to second-degree Redmond in the Bredigan case and said he allegedly. Sorry, I took those capsules and they're sitting in my throat. He agreed to testify against the estranged couple, but in January, the case took a crazy twist, and Tenan said his testimony was false and asked for a new lawyer. He led his public defender step down. That led the public defender to step down earlier this month. Now he has a new attorney, and he is as he considers withdrawing his guilty plea. The change could significantly impact the case for Fernandez and Garner, according to the legal team. Shanna Gardner-Fernandez estranged husband phone pinged a rental property for a man who shot Jared Bridegan. I don't know how to say his name. The document showed that I'm going to call it Bredigan death. The court settled a custody dispute between Garner's parents and Bredigan's parents over the care of the couple's twins. So the twins, he had twins with Garner, and because now she's in custody, the parents have had a legal battle over the guardianship. The guardianship was granted to Gardner's parents, who live in Washington State, with visitation rights to the Bredigan's family. Now, Bredigan's widow, Kristen, and members of the Bredigan Foundation were present with a black and blue award for their what? Okay, I have no idea what that is. So, here are some more flowing background notes. Jared Bridegan, a former Microsoft executive. Okay, he was a former executive for Microsoft, and Shanna's ex-husband was killed February 16th. He was ambushed and shot after stopping to move a tire out of the road while driving home his 2-year-old daughter who witnessed the red room. See, if you're going to red room your ex, please don't have the child there. For the love of the Lord, don't do that. Bredigan, Brad IH, or is that an IN? I can't tell. Like Madigan, but with the Bredigan. Okay, thank you, Wagner. And for those of you who don't know, I am severely dyslexic, and if it's not a common name, I'm going to butcher it. So anyway, Bredigan. Yay! I figured. Thank you so much, and that's perfect. I am Wagner. That's perfect. Shanna Gardner-Fernandez is indicted on August 23 of the charges of the first-degree red room conspiracy to commit first-degree red room, solicitation to commit first-degree red room, and child abuse. The estranged husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, was also arrested and charged. He's accused of orchestrating the red room for hire plot with Gardner-Fernandez. The third man, Henry Tenon, who was alleged gunman, pled guilty initially and agreed to testify against the couple. However, he has later recanted, claiming the testimony was false, which we don't know how that's going to impact it, but it's going to impact it. Let me see if I can find the trial. Let's see. We'll go to lives. It's not showing up, guys. And I hate to put this on you, but I can't read all this and try to find the current live. If you find a direct link for the live, please let me know. Flashfan. Where's the link for Flashfan? I want to play some of that. Where was that shared? Was that in the info drop off? There we go. We're going to look at some of the information in a minute while we're waiting. When they put up the live feed, I'll put it in Discord. Flashfan, you are amazing. Thank you so much. The trial for Gardner-Fernandez is scheduled to begin in jury selection October 20th. Okay, Gardner-Fernandez and Bredigan shared 11-year-old twins. After her arrest, the children were placed in custody of her parents, Shelley and Sterling Gardner of Washington State. They are the owners of the Stampin' Up business. The widow, Kristen, and his family have been fighting for visitation right, claiming the children have been isolated from their half-siblings and parental relatives. A lawsuit has been filed in Washington State by the Bredigan's parents seeking an unsupervised visitations. Maybe not. They're talking about. Yeah, I got it, Flashfan. I'm getting ready to pull it up. Thank you so much. Maybe not. They may be talking about pushing the trial date back in January. No! Stampin' Up in public response. Garner's a co-founder of Stampin' Up, issued a statement expressing sadness and asked for privacy. However, they've been criticized for not publicly acknowledging Jared Bridegan by name in their statements. The company has tried to distance itself from the case, stating Gardner-Fernandez and Fernandez Saldana have been separated for some time. I can understand separating the business because a business in and of itself had nothing to do with this. I can appreciate that majorly. This is a very religious, spirited family. They are Mormons, just so you know. Okay, so let me come up here and click on this link. Well, that took me to where I just was. I don't want to do that. I wanted to go to some videos. So let me go to YouTube and get some videos up on them. What? Uh-oh, we have a meeting that I was not aware of. Oh, holy Moses. I'm just going to show this real quick, but this is a meeting that Kirk County is having. Is this Kirk County? Where's this being done? Oh, I need to get that to 100%. Oh, wow. I didn't know we were having a meeting. Wow. Let me try to go sound off. While I look.
Taken, reflect your compassion, and may your amen.
Thank you for that, Scott.
I will
A little housekeeping.
together.
So public restrooms are available by the public building at the door you outside doors and get it ready. Oh, and one other last change. We do have one additional judge to 3 testify. Chosen not to limit. I have chosen to limit invited testimony for 10 minutes or through the inference. As many gain from the periods of what we learned from this and what actions we take and what.
Give me a minute. I'm looking for information on the trial, but this is something I didn't know was happening either.
Will hopefully save lives in the next event. So with that, that's the goal and objective. We're going to extend latitude today from both public members, questions, but there will be boundaries. It's not a place where you're going to throw rocks at each other or accuse each other. It's a place where we're going to try to garner information to be better for it. and we'll learn from it. And trust me,
Okay. I will run this later. I want to pull that down. I will run this later. Let's switch over here. Let's go to this right here.
We want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us for First Coast News at noon. I'm Jeannie Blaylock. New today at noon, one of the 3 people charged with murder in the death of local father Jared Bridegan is asking for communications from jailhouse informants. Attorneys for Shanna Gardner filed a motion to obtain communications from inmates planning to testify against her in the high-profile murder for hire investigation. Judge London Kite granted the order last month. Gardner is charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of her ex-husband in 2022. It happened in Jacksonville Beach when Bredigan stopped to move a tire from the road after dropping off his 2 oldest children at the home of Gardner, his ex-wife, and her now estranged husband, Mario Fernandez. Prosecutors say Henry Tenon, who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, is the one who pulled the trigger. He was renting a property from Fernandez at the time. Gardner's team is asking for inmate mail, recorded jail calls and electronic texts, and also videos from jailhouse informants the prosecution intends to have testify against Gardner. The informants are charged with serious felony offenses such as murder and human trafficking, according to this motion. Gardner's next court appearance is set for July 31st.
On the evening of February 16, 2022, Jared Bridegan, a 33-year-old Microsoft executive from St. Augustine, Florida, had taken his children out for dinner and ice cream. After dropping off the twin boy and girl at the home of his ex-wife, Shanna Gardner, he took his normal route back to his house with his 2-year-old daughter from another marriage still in the back seat. Police now believe he stopped due to a tire in the middle of the road. As he exited the vehicle to remove the obstruction, he was ambushed and shot multiple times, execution style. When police arrived, Good Samaritans were already there and taking care of the little girl. She would later tell police, "Daddy opened my door and I heard a boom." She saw her father lying on the ground. Daddy was sick, she said. What would unfold over the following months would lead investigators to unravel a killing that prosecutors now believe was several years in the making. Please join me for this special episode of Courtroom Confidential Case Notes, the case of Shanna Gardner. Date night was every other week for Jared Bridegan and his twin son and daughter. The time was always the same, and he typically kept them the entire time. Shanna Gardner, Bredigan's ex-wife, would later tell police that both her and her new husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, were both home when the kids were dropped off. The typical routine was Jared would text when he arrived, and the kids would go out and get in the car. When he returned at the end of the night, he would let the kids out of the car, and they would go in through the garage of the home. According to Shanna, she was at the stove with headphones on, cooking her dinner. She had just returned from Walmart. Mario had a bad headache and was asleep. Police were able to pin down the drop-off time to be 7:48 p.m. When asked if the kids mentioned anything out of the ordinary about the evening, they only mentioned that Jared was on a work call when they first arrived at the restaurant and they had to eat quickly to get back home to their mother. While on his normal route shortly after leaving, Jared apparently stopped due to a tire in the middle of the road. An assailant approached and shot Jared multiple times at close range, leaving the child, who was still strapped in the car seat, unharmed, bearing witness to her father's murder. When police arrived at the scene, they found Bredigan lying dead next to the open door of his Volkswagen Atlas that still had the hazards on. Nothing appeared to have been stolen. Good Samaritans were already on the scene when police responded and were taking care of the little girl. Investigators said the bullets...
Who is this guy? I love his voice. Not a fan of bias. I see. LOL. What? What? Wow. That is interesting, y'all. Okay, we'll go ahead and investigate this, and we'll reset this for 2. Flashfan, thank you. It was slated for 9:30 in the morning, so they did change it. Okay, so that's fine. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into this right now, and then get ready for the verdict watch, and just keep rolling. Because if I stop now, I'm going to sleep, and I won't get back up. uh, um, she's saying that many of us are not fans of attorney. He's one who got the. Oh, and that's her attorney. Ooh, this is a very long verdict watch. Okay, we're gonna keep watching this because I gotta get caught up.
Fired at Bredigan went inside the car only inches away from his daughter's car seat. The 2-year-old later told police, "Daddy opened my car door and I heard a boom." She saw Jared laying on the ground, adding Daddy was sick. Soon after, police had surveillance audio from neighbors and had obtained surveillance video of the ambush murder. The video showed muzzle flashes and the unknown shooter running off. Police talked to Shanna Gardner the night of the murder, and she admitted that her divorce with Jared was not amicable. And in recent months, the ex-couple only communicated by text. When questioned, Gardner said she did not know if the victim had any issues with anyone which would lead to his death. Police also talked to Kristen Bredigan, Jared's current wife, that night. Kristen told investigators, quote, "Shanna and Mario lie to the kids and try to make Jared look bad to them. The only person who had ill will toward him is Shanna and Mario."
Renee, we had a volunteer firefighter chief while out and in the heat trying to do rescue and recovery, have a heart attack and die, and I knew him. He was a volunteer firefighter for Ingram, which is between Kerrville and Hunt. They were hit pretty hard. We had another person. I'm going to come back with this just a minute because
We want to welcome everybody and thank you.
On the evening of February 16th, 2022.
I didn't know if I could share this. Who is this person? So anyway, unfortunately, another person did die in an accident with one of the big equipment. One of the firehouses in Center Point, another volunteer. We have 7 volunteer fire departments within Kirk County. I think 7, not 6, 7. And they came back from doing water rescue only to find their entire firehouse empty. The floods came in, swept everything out, left a lot of mud and muck. And so we are doing a fundraiser. All my super chats and stickers for the month are going to the disabled victims. And I'm buying equipment for them, such as wheelchairs. And then the fire department will get the other half. I've already given the fire department $500, and we'll be giving them $500 more for a total of $1,000 that we have raised. We had one donor who donated $1,000, which I've cried. I've not written him a thank you note, but it is on my to-do list. So one of the things in the divorce is that he remained committed to the LDS church while Shanna was becoming less involved. And I know that was difficult because her parents, weren't they very much into the LDS church? Weren't they strong followers? But is it okay for me to use his stream is what I'm wondering. Oh, good point. I'm screenshotting that. Thank you, Renee. That's Josh Ritter. James Avery, I met the man a couple of times. He was, love him. They have a special charm. It's the shape of Texas with a cutout heart inside it that they are selling, and 100% of the proceeds will go to the victim's recovery. So you may, if you're a James Avery person, a charm bracelet person, go buy a charm and support the cause. Definitely. I think what I'm going to do is, just to be safe,
We want to welcome everybody and
we're going to keep it in the, we're going to keep it through Court TV, because I know I can share Court TV.
Shanna Gardner was
I don't want to upset anybody.
born into wealth. Her parents had money, lots of it. She was also raised in a devout Mormon home. From the outside, it seemed like she was living a very stable, normal life. She then met a man named Jared Bridegan during a trip to Florida. Jared was also a devout Mormon. They fell in love and got married in Utah in 2010. They began their lives together in Connecticut and began raising their twins, but then moved to Jared's hometown in Jacksonville, Florida, for the health of one of their children. It was here in Florida where life changed for Shanna. Marital problems, allegations of cheating, and actions very inconsistent with her Mormon upbringing. This led to a divorce in 2015. This also led to endless battles concerning the twins. Shanna did remarry. Mario Fernandez Saldana was a maintenance man at the gym where she worked out. They fell in love and got hitched. Then Jared was murdered. Shanna skipped the funeral and moved to Washington State without her new husband. Then the killer was arrested. Mario was arrested. And finally, Shanna was arrested. All three are now accused in the murder for hire of Jared Bridegan.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to see you. Great to be back. And let's start here, because we see situations like this way too often on Court TV. Families breaking up and it resulting in someone being charged with murder. But you may know this, you may not know this, but for first marriages in the United States of America, 40 to 50% of them end in divorce. It's extremely common. It just happens for whatever reason. You fall out of love, somebody, you don't agree, financial problems, of course, extramarital affairs, all these things cause problems between adults and they get divorced. So it's nothing that is extreme or unusual, right? 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. Now, normally when that divorce happens, if it's two people, it's pretty simple. Adults, you just go your own way. Maybe you have a broken heart, maybe you're a little jealous, but you can get over it and move on. If during the course of that marriage, however, you started a family, you have children, it gets complicated. It gets very, very complicated, because now you have split, but the children are left in the middle of all of this. And you're battling for custody. Who gets them at the holidays? Who gets them on the birthday? Who's going to pay for this? They shouldn't see that. They shouldn't go out with this one. I mean, everything can potentially become a battle and get ugly. But it doesn't have to. If the two adults, the parents, act in the best interest of the children. And that's a phrase that's used in the law all the time. And judges will use that as the standard in all cases. In dealing with children, what do you do with them? Well, with whatever's in their best interest. And we know it's always in the best interest of the children, 90% of the time, that the parents get along. Unless you've got one who is totally off the rails, and you know what I'm talking about. But in the normal circumstance, if everybody just agrees, we're not for each other, things happen between us, but we've got to act in the best interest of the children at all times.
So are you guys saying this is a cross between the Adelson and Reed case? I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Flashfan, thank you so much for all your input in this, and Wogger, thank you.
And not do anything to disrupt that. Well, in the allegations in this case involving Shanna Gardner, it's the opposite of that. It's the absolute opposite. And it's not the first time we've seen something like this on court TV. It's an allegation that in this split up, one parent is driven to the point of murdering the other parent in a bitter custody battle. Worst case scenario, the opposite of what should happen, obviously. Everyone should get along for those kids. Now, the allegations here are that that did not happen. And now we've got a murder case. Matt Johnson, Court TV crime and justice correspondent, has more of the backstory for us tonight.
Jared Bridegan appeared to have it all. A new job as a Microsoft executive, living in sunny Florida with his wife Kirsten and 4 children.
We had just had London. She was 6 months old. So things were good.
Kirsten had 2 children with Jared, London and Bexley. They also shared custody of his 9-year-old twins from a previous marriage.
On the week that we did not have the oldest 2 kids at our home, Jared would take them out to dinner. It was referred to as date night in this agreement.
The agreement kept Jared and Kirsten in Florida because Bredigan and his ex-wife Shanna Gardner-Fernandez were in a bitter custody dispute. What was that relationship like, he and his ex-wife?
The relationship between us and his ex-wife was not cordial. Our communications were always in writing because there was not mutual trust between the 2 households.
On February 16, 2022, Jared had one of his scheduled daddy date nights. After dinner, he dropped off his twin daughter and son at his ex-wife's home in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, and headed home to St. Augustine. On the way, he stopped to get his 2.5-year-old daughter Bexley ice cream. She was in the back seat of his SUV. He then called Kirsten, telling her he loved her and would be home soon. How did you learn something was wrong?
As time started ticking by and the time that they're usually home passed, I can't even describe it. Like, I just knew something's not right.
Her fears became reality after an officer answered Jared's cell phone, telling her Bexley was unharmed, but they needed her to come by the police station to hear about her husband.
They later on that night told me that he had been shot. Where did this happen? Because he usually gets in the car and just drives home. I had talked to him.
Jared was not a victim of any robbery gone wrong or carjacking. Police say he was the victim of a targeted attack on a one-way road he traveled often. Jared came across a tire police say was intentionally placed right here in the middle of the road in the sanctuary neighborhood of Jacksonville Beach, Florida. That's when someone came out of these woods and ambushed the father of 4, killing him on the spot. For almost a year, no answers. Then in January 2023, a break in the case.
Henry Tenon was arrested for the following crimes: conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree murder with a weapon, accessory after the fact to a capital felony, and child abuse.
Now investigators say that Tenan has pleaded guilty in the case and admitted to shooting Bredigan.
Henry Tenon pled guilty to murdering Jared Bridegan. Henry Tenon has admitted that he in fact was the shooter.
According to court records, Tenan once lived in this house that was once owned by Bredigan's ex-wife's current husband.
Our investigation has revealed a single link between Jared Bridegan and Henry Tenon. That is Mario Fernandez Saldana.
And now investigators have charged that husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, with first-degree murder.
And the grand jury has returned an indictment charging Fernandez Saldana with first-degree murder. In addition to the first-degree murder charge, the grand jury also has indicted Fernandez Saldana for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, as well as child abuse. First-degree murder, this is a capital felony punishable by death or mandatory life in prison.
Jared's ex-wife and her new husband, Mario Fernandez, have denied any involvement in his murder. Gardner-Fernandez has since relocated to Washington State with the twins she shared with Jared.
And she now is under arrest as well. So all 3 of them now accused, and the killer admitting to it, taking a deal. I'm sure he'll be witness number one in this case. Let's bring in our guest tonight. Joining us, forensic death investigator, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, and host of the wildly popular Body Bags podcast.
By the way, the supposed shooter has recanted his confession and is trying to get that thrown out. Yeah, that would be great, Flashfan. Thank you so very much.
Joseph Scott Morgan is with us. Also joining us tonight, our friend and podcaster Gray Hughes has an incredible show you got to watch on YouTube. Watched it many times. Great to see you, Gray. Great to see you, Joseph Scott Morgan, tonight. Let's begin here. Joseph, we've been waiting a long time for her to be arrested because there is the motive in all of this. But putting the pieces together here, it seems like investigators believe that they have done that.
Yeah, they have. And the wellspring for all of this is going to be Tenan. He's the key to everything as far as, the acts of that night, the dynamics of this event. And just so that folks at home understand, this was not simply a tire that was found in the roadway. This was a tire on a rim. So there's, this kind of poignant moment when you think about it. The police arrived at the scene after this had occurred, and the flashers were still on Jared's vehicle, which gives you an indication of awareness, doesn't it? It gives you an indication that he had spotted something in the road. He thought to put his flashers on, and that was the intent here, I believe. And it was something he could not go around. This is a heavily wooded area, a lot of vegetation, a great area for cover. It's something that my friends in the military would refer to as a choke point, because it's a one-way road. There's no way to go around it unless you hop the curb. So he knew that he would stop, and it's at that point with a 3-year-old baby in the back seat, mind you, where this young man, Jared, was actually executed. And they've used that term, execution-style killing, even though he's shot multiple times. It's a ghastly event, but like I said, Tenan is the linchpin in all of this.
Let's take a listen to Jared's brother, Adam Bridegan, who spoke with Matt Johnson earlier today.
What's your reaction to the arrest with Shanna? Did that surprise you at all?
It absolutely surprised all of our family that we would get to this point, right? It's one of like your worst fears being realized. And what I mean by that is worst fears knowing what this would mean for Jared's children, knowing what this would mean for Kirsten, and knowing what this would mean for our family.
There he is, Jared Bridegan, shot down, execution style. It was a hit, no doubt. But now his former wife, the mother of 2 of his children, the twins, Shanna, is now arrested. Gray Hughes, I know you've been covering this in depth, looking at this case, and with the arrest of Shanna now, it seems to be the final piece in all of that. How do you see her connection with all this, other than the obvious that she has a motive?
Well, I think she's probably completely behind the whole thing. I think that she hated Jared, and on this particular night, I agree with Joseph Scott Morgan there, where there's a choke point. Right before that, there's actually it's 2 lanes on that very same road, and then it just kind of quickly goes into individual lanes. You can see right there on the video. But I think that they planned it when Jared dropped off their shared 2 children with what's her name? Let's see, it was I think it was Kristen Bredigan's his wife, and then his ex-wife. He drops the 2 children off at that house, and then immediately, I think after that, Mario is alerted that they've left that house, and there's a lookout point that has to be maintained, because if you put the tire out too soon, then that means the vehicle, any other vehicle that shows up on that road would stop, and it would ruin the plan. So you have to wait to right before Jared's vehicle turns onto that road, the final road there, and then you put the tire out. And I guarantee there was some communication, maybe using burner phones that said, hey, put it out, put the tire out right now. And then the tire was put on the road. Jared's the next car. And then if another car had started to come, I think they would have called it off. You know, I think if there was another car showing up, people, they just would have called it off, but there wasn't. And then I think right after that, Tenan likely got into a car and then drove and picked up Mario, because right after Tenan would have shot, he'd have to get into a car, picks up Mario just right up the street, and they take a...
Yes, unfortunately, the original time for this hearing was recorded at 9:45, and once I went live, it was apparently changed at some point to 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we're going to continue just learning about this until the Ali goes into a live verdict watch. We will switch over to that live when they go into a verdict watch, and but I am definitely going to follow this one. Like, yeah, especially since I used to be a Stampin' Up demonstrator for 10 years and kind of have a connection to this case through the company. So we will be following this one as well. A lot of y'all have already heard about this. I had not. So we're just trying to get educated at this point because there's nothing else going on.
Right, and they drive all the way around, and they're seen on 3 surveillance cameras by the police station in that Ford F-150, or at least the vehicle is, but he isn't. You know, we don't know who's in it at that time.
That's significant, and what a great point, Joseph, that Gray makes here. You're talking about what Shanna's role is in all of this. We've seen cases where, all right, I want somebody dead, and then somebody gets it done. Here, I see exactly what Gray is saying, that there's got to be some level of communication to pull this off.
It's a coordinated event, isn't it? I mean, you have to have an awareness, timing. As Gray pointed out, this is essential for this event, knowing, and for those of us that have been, you know, unfortunately, divorce is part of life, and you have to hand the kids off on the weekend and that sort of thing. And there are time elements. You know, you set these times up in advance, and you drop the kids off, or you pick them up, or whatever the case might be. And you run the same route most of the time. This is a familiar route. His wife even says, "You should have been home by now." And that's key. I think, you know, the devil's in the details here, this idea of laying in wait, which again is a very sinister, dark thing. But then you begin to think about how much evidence, you know, has been left behind at the scene. That tire, I think, is going to be a wealth of evidence. If you take a look at that rim, one of the things that caught my eye about it is that it's covered with what appears to be road dust or road dirt. I really wonder if they recovered print out of that. It's dirty. It hasn't been very well taken care of. And also that tire is specific to a particular type of vehicle, Vin. And so you take that, and what types of vehicles are involved? Well, is that something that would fit an F-150? Did they just grab the closest thing available? Or did they go out somewhere and steal another tire with a rim and use that to facilitate this ambush? And that's key here, I think. Not to mention the one downside from a forensic standpoint, my understanding, at least at this point, maybe I'm wrong, is that we don't have a weapon. But I can guarantee you have shell casings and you have recovered projectiles as well.
And Gray, talking about that escape route, is there any connection to a potential route where the video picks up this vehicle and Shanna's home?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's absolutely clear. The escape route looks like it goes up onto Shedder Avenue. I don't know if you have it on your screen there, but Shedder Avenue, you would take a left, you pass one surveillance camera that's on South, let me zoom in on that. I'm just looking at it on my end. It's on South 12th Street. And it just drives right by that. Then it passes the police station, and there's 2 cameras on the police station, ironically, that pick up the truck, the Ford F-150. And then after that, it goes through an intersection, and that's really important because if it took a right, it could go onto a freeway, and then if it kept going forward, if you took another right, it would go onto the same freeway. So it's not likely this person intended to go onto that freeway. So After they get to the next intersection at South 15th Street, you just turn left, and 200 yards from there is Shanna's house. I mean, so to me, it's just really clear that right after that, I mean, I can't say it's absolutely 100%, but it's very good circumstantial evidence that the vehicle was heading back toward Shanna's house and going to drop off. I believe he was dropping off Mario.
And that is so significant because in this case, you've got 3 defendants. One has already admitted his guilt, will be testifying against the others. But I could see her pointing the finger at Mario, trying to distance herself from Mario. So anything that can potentially connect her to what happened the time and day of the murder will be crucial for prosecutors in this case, because you know the way it goes, Joseph. If there's 3 people, they're pointing the finger all at each other, and she has already seemingly attempted to create some distance between herself and Mario.
Yeah, they've entered into a confederacy here when you begin to think about this. And I think, you know, not only will CCTV be very important, we're going to hear when this thing finally does go to trial, then for all of our fans here on Court TV, buckle in, because you're going to hear a lot. You're going to hear a lot about digital evidence in this particular case, phone records, those sorts of things. And boy, is it going to play a key, because you're going to have crosstalk between these 3 parties. And Lord only knows, you know, all the text messages that have gone out and, you know, kind of ramping up this. And they're going to talk a lot about the seeds of this conspiracy as it's being planted, those kernels that were planted at some point in time. What day should we go off on? When's the next time you're going to have the kids? When are you going to deliver them? What time of day do you normally deliver them? What's the best time? Because if you're watching the area and you're looking for traffic patterns and all those sorts of things, that's going to be key. So there's going to be a real deep dive into a lot of the digital evidence, I think, in this case, and it's going to be crucial.
All right, Joseph Scott Morgan.
All right. Now, I've kind of been waiting. I've been looking at our viewer numbers, and I was kind of waiting for our numbers to be elevated because we have an announcement to make. I have an announcement to make. Hopefully, Chinkitude, will you say hello to everyone? Give us a little hi, y'all. Everybody I'm going to wait for her to say hi, y'all, because I have an announcement to make. But I need her to say hi, y'all. See if she's listening. Can you just throw up a hi, y'all, Tinkitude? Pretty please. I'm on a little delay, so I have to wait for her to do it. Good morning, Widget 81. Good morning. Good morning. Y'all, Tinkitude is blue and she's got a wrench. We have a new mod. Everybody give me welcome to the family. He is now a part of the Ada K Media family. Thank you so much, Tinkitude, for becoming a member of our YouTube channel by being a mod. Welcome, welcome. We love and we bless you. And I thank you for your willingness to volunteer and become a part of the family. That said, we are still looking for mods. So if you're interested in being a mod, please get a hold of me in Discord. All you have to do is go to Discord, private message me, and I will visit with you. We're looking for someone who's got some techiness, as well as people who would like to be a mod like Miss Tinkitude. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We've had a little change of plans. The the hearing was changed from 9:45 in the morning. The last I saw it to now 2. So we'll come back to this, but until we get into 11 o'clock my time and we get into the verdict watch, we're going to stay here, and then we'll go to the border. And then we'll go to the other trial. We'll teleport to the other trial.
Gray Hughes,
The Ali verdict watch.
appreciate you coming on tonight. Great insight as always. We'll see you again really, really soon. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk more about Shanna Gardner. Take a closer look at her. What's going on up here, this transformation she made in her life, plus coming up next hour.
In Santa Fe, New Mexico, Alec Baldwin still waiting to see if he will once again be charged for shooting and killing Helena Hutchins. Meanwhile, potential major problems for prosecutors after the FBI breaks the gun during testing. Did the FBI blow the case against Baldwin?
The FBI mangled this whole thing by damaging the gun in their investigation so that further examinations of the gun, it will not be in the exact condition it was on the set. Book.
Wow.
We need to know what that gun was exactly as it came off the set, and that is no longer possible.
2 militia groups were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
A foiled plot to kidnap the Michigan governor. 3 defendants on trial for their alleged role.
Elaborate plans to endanger the lives of government officials and the broader.
We're going to spin Jim.
What was that relationship like in the beginning? How did they meet, him and Shanna?
So they actually met through my wife.
You can do that.
My wife was very close with Shanna in their younger years. They had a very good relationship, and they were connected through my wife and myself. So throughout the years, there was definitely changes and things that happened and behaviors and things like that. And so we haven't spoken in a very, very long time.
There is Jared Bridegan's brother, Adam, talking to Matt Johnson earlier today and talking about Shanna, his former sister-in-law, and how she changed through the years. Remember, when she got married, she grew up in a Mormon home in Utah, met her husband. He's a devout Mormon as well. They started a family, and they broke up, and things happened in the marriage, and things changed. Take a look at what the Daily Mail is reporting about Shanna Gardner. It's unclear how Gardner-Fernandez met her new husband, but those who knew them before their arrests say she became wilder and wilder as their romance progressed. She visited a tattoo parlor in 2015 asking for a genital piercing, a request that shocked staff who said she looked like a normal mother. She went from this goody two-shoes girl to this wild lady. I just remember thinking, well, this is a changed woman, one employee said at the time. So what could be going on here? Let's bring in our guests, still with us, or joining us, nationally known psychotherapist, host of Talking Live and the Bite-Sized podcast, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, and forensic psychiatrist, body language expert, and columnist of Inside the Criminal Mind in the Front Page Detectives, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Great to have you both here. Dr. Robbie, let me start with you. They're married. Marriages break up all the time, but it seems either after the breakup or when she met her new husband, it seems like things changed. Like she kind of moved away from whatever she was to this wilder person. At least those are the allegations here. She's working out. She's got muscles. She's ripped. She's got tattoos. Apparently wants to get pierced. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I wonder if, first of all, we are influenced by those around us. So if there was something about her new husband that encouraged her to be more wild and dysregulated. I wonder, too, if she had late onset of bipolar disorder, which also can get people to behave in this kind of wild way. So it sounds to me either some kind of mood disorder, the person she was influenced by, or just had this need to rebel in a way that she never had before.
And I understand people change through the years, Dr. Carol Lieberman, but this is a different scenario. We're talking about someone accused of plotting and helping in the murder of her own former husband, the father of 2 of her children, of the twins. Going from this devout Mormon household that she grew up in Utah, marrying a devout Mormon, and then this wild streak. Do you think any of that, of what's going on, could potentially be connected or makes it more likely that she could get involved in a murder plot like this?
Well, she was a woman scorned. And when that marriage was falling apart, then she met this other man, And, perhaps there were drugs involved or just a lot of, there's a lot that we need to know that happened in the marriage because their divorce was so contentious, particularly fighting over kids and money. But as that's the hardest thing really when people get divorced because they see themselves and their children and they don't want to let go of that. But, she could have very well just been disillusioned. Here she thought she had this wonderful life and with this wonderful man and now these two children. And all of a sudden it dissolves and he's just giving her 5 years or 6 years even of contentious divorce. So it could be a rebellion against that or a disappointment really against that.
Now, according to Action News JAX in Florida, after Jared Bridegan was murdered, his widow, Kirsten, asked Jared's ex-wife, Shanna, not to speak publicly about his death. But in June of last year, Shanna spoke to JAX 30 reporter Kristen Rary and denied being involved in this plot.
Did you have anything to do with Jared's murder?
No, I did not have anything to do with his murder.
We also have a statement from Shanna's family. They are saying, words cannot accurately express the depth of our sadness. Family is our top priority. We love our daughter and are focused on supporting her and our entire family as we help our grandchildren navigate this difficult and very confusing time. For their sake and all involved, we caution against further speculation and request privacy as the legal process runs its course. That's from Shelley and Sterling Gardner, the parents of Shanna and the grandparents of those twins. Dr. Robbie, the twins, I don't know what this does.
But have you noticed they're not bringing up the Stampin' Up corporation connection?
To kids. I've seen kids in all different ages through the years here at Court TV stuck in the middle of these cases where one parent's accused of murdering the other. I don't think there's any easy way out for them.
It's extraordinarily damaging. And not only that, they lose extended family in some cases. So this is a loss that in some ways never gets resolved. It's an open wound that they learn to live with, and hopefully they can get the right support. But it's very damaging in terms of what it means in terms of them getting involved and feeling safe moving forward in choosing a partner. So of course it's just devastating for the kids and for the family, and it's just awful.
Yeah, the grandparents are in a tough spot, Dr. Carol Lieberman. But let's get back to Shanna. She grew up, her parents have money. That's an extremely successful company. Do you think there's any level of entitlement that sort of, because I'm sure her parents did what most parents would do. If you have money, you share it with your kids, you take care of them, whatever they want, you kind of get. You get for them if you can, make their lives better and better than your life and easier than your life. Do you think any of that could play a role when things get tough and you're in a custody battle and you're not getting your way?
Well, it's been reported that she used the fact that her parents were very wealthy to lure Jared in the first place. So there's some, that has to be interesting. Why did she have to lure him with their money? Like, wasn't she enough? Or did she not feel that she was enough? But, I watched the rest of that interview that you showed a part of, and she deserves an Oscar for it because she looked like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. She really did seem believable that she was innocent. And then, of course, that interview was done in 2022 between the time that he was killed and the time that she was arrested. And so, she had people fooled, at least. It's going to be interesting to see how much evidence there really is against her. Like, Tenan did tell about the plot and all of that, and he's going to testify against her husband, her current husband. But how much is there? Is it possible that she's going to be able to convince a jury with another Oscar-worthy performance that really she didn't do anything?
Dr. Robbie, that's a great point. What are your thoughts about the relationship now between Shanna and Mario? Because it seems like Shanna and her family are distancing themselves from Mario. What I take from that is, and what normally happens in murder cases with multiple defendants, is that someone's going to point the finger at someone else. And I think there's a little trouble in paradise there.
Perhaps she just used Mario all along. And what's so interesting about these murder for hire cases, especially when it's instigated by a woman, in fact, they're called instigators, is that these women can fall into denial. And that's why these murder for hire cases rarely work, because most people don't know professional killers. And so, you know, there's usually...
I have to do it. How would you translate or interpret? A translate is Spanish to English, Chinese to English, Spanish to German. In ASL, it's an interpretation. How would I interpret butter would melt in your mouth? Information, because we're talking about her being informed, okay? Same or same as, quote, butter. This is delicious. So, or I would to solve. So a butter mouth. That. Done right. That.
Clues left along the way. So it's very possible that Shanna, what's her name? Whatever her name is, that she convinced herself that, you know, it wasn't her who actually committed the crime. She didn't actually murder her ex. It was somebody else that did it. She might have had angry feelings. She might have liked the idea of him being dead, but she wasn't involved in actually killing him per se. So there's a lot of denial that can be involved in these kinds of murder plans.
And Dr. Carol Lieberman, I expect her to throw him under the bus, because the connection is between the killer and Mario, the much more direct connection as landlord and tenant. They knew each other. Maybe that's where a lot of the communication is. I can clearly foresee that inside the courtroom.
Yes. You know, she must have been filled with so much jealousy and rage. Rage, you know, from the years of fighting with the divorce battles and so on. And jealousy, you know, he got married. They were divorced in 2015. He got married in 2017. He got married before she did. And then he had 2 babies with his new wife. So she sees this man going off and having another family with another woman. And, you know, both of those things would have.
What do you expect is going to happen when you get a divorce? I mean, and especially a younger couple getting divorced. They're going to have more kids.
Built up her rage and built up her desire to kill him. It doesn't mean, though, you know, that it doesn't mean that she really did, or it doesn't, or it's going to be, still leaves room for there to be proof needed in between.
Oh, absolutely. You got to prove the case. You absolutely have to prove the case. Everyone's presumed innocent. Even the man who's admitted to it until the conviction is final is presumed innocent. Dr. Robbie Ludwig, Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you so much. Appreciate your time tonight. When we come back, let's talk about that divorce between Jared and Shanna. We'll bring in our experts who have been there in the middle of battles like this, but maybe not with the result that this one had. But people, when it comes to fighting over kids, it's non-stop. That's next.
How dare I basically abandon him within the marriage, and he goes on with life after a divorce. I don't know if she brought him his defense. Okay. If we have time, we'll look at these documents y'all given, Miss. We got just
militia groups were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
A foiled plot to
Love the
kidnap
interpreters
Michigan
for this
governor.
group.
3 defendants on trial for their alleged role.
Elaborate plans to endanger the lives of government officials and the broader public.
The infiltration of a militia group.
I never could have imagined anything like this.
The Michigan governor kidnapping plot. Coverage begins this week following jury selection on Court TV.
What I can say is that Jared was broken, right? He he really wanted to stay together for the kids. I think that was his top priority, was raising the children. And the divorce really took an emotional toll on him. And we were so happy as a family to see Kirsten come into Jared's life.
That's Jared Bridegan's brother, Adam, speaking with Matt Johnson earlier today, talking about his brother who was shot and killed. It was an obvious hit. The hit man who was hired has admitted his guilt inside of a courtroom and is expected to be the key witness against two other people, which would be Jared's ex-wife, Shanna, and her new husband, Mario. So let's take a look at the relationship between Shanna and Jared, right? In 2010, they get married. 2015, they divorce, and then there's a bunch of custody disputes that follow, and both parents share custody to a certain extent of the twins. 2017, Jared marries his second wife, Kirsten, as you heard Adam talk about. And then in 2018, Shanna meets Mario at CrossFit Gym, where Mario worked as a maintenance man. They get married the same year. Then 4 years later, 2022, Jared is shot and killed, and Shanna gets full custody of the twins. Let's bring in our family law experts who have been in battles, maybe not this extreme, but battles. Family law attorney Jacqueline Newman is with us, and family law attorney and law professor Randy Kessler. Great to see you both here. Jacqueline, from your perspective, how often is there irrational behavior in a custody battle, whether it's, at the time of the divorce or 4 years later?
Is 100% too much to say? There's always some sort of element of irrational behavior. I mean, custody, as you can imagine, is just incredibly, incredibly challenging for people to fight about. I mean, this is their children. This is their everything. So people can act in a very irrational way. Going to the extent of murder is definitely way more irrational than what I've typically dealt with. But I think it's safe to say that most people are somewhat irrational when dealing in a custody fight.
And Randy, that's why I never got into your line of work. No, it's much safer over in the criminal courts, much safer. So,
Walker, my friend in Wisconsin, is a professional ISO. She has such an interesting career, including training New York. I went to college to become an interpreter. After I get my bachelor's degree, I'm going to go for my national certification. That's cool, Roger. Thank you so very much. Love it.
Well, let me ask you, Randy, how do the dynamics change in a case where?
Holy crap! Okay, I just found out some interesting information. The Sterling and Shelley Garner Stampin Up founders estimated worth. Some sources estimated their combined, it's two sisters who started the company in 1988, are $150 million. Others suggest it could be as high as $900 million, factoring in the real estate, business venture, and investments. I'm sure it's more than 900. Stampin' Up Global Direct Sales Company was founded, like I said, in 1988. I already knew that. Strategic investments in real estate, publishing, and creative startups. Shanna Gardner-Fernandez, her personal wealth comes from business ventures and brand partnership, inheritance, and family wealth from the Garner estate. Investment in various sectors, including wellness and lifestyle brands, is worth how much? Are y'all ready for this? $10 million. Her own personal wealth is $10 million. Holy crap.
Couple gets divorced, they have kids, and then one of the exes gets remarried and starts another family.
So I think you hit on it earlier, right? That she's going to throw him under the bus. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of the new spouse feels threatened by the former spouse. The former spouse is always going to have a connection to the new spouse, to the wife, because they had children together. You marry somebody and they had children with somebody else. They had something that you'll never have with them. They had their firstborn, their secondborn, and there's some competition, there's some threat, it depends on the individual. So that's not a good recipe If people cannot be mature enough to say, I know what I'm getting into, this is a woman who's got children, and I'm good with it. If he wasn't good with it and he felt threatened, certainly she may say, he didn't like my ex, and he did it on his own. He knew I didn't like him, but I would never want my ex killed. So that may be the defense, that may be where it ends up, because you hit the nail on the head, Vinny. There's a lot of that animosity, and that often causes more litigation. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to one up the other side and show that she married right this time, that the first one was the mistake and I'm the right one.
Are there signs, Jacqueline, when you can tell in a case like the other side is getting, a little, I don't say the word dangerous, but again, getting back to that irrationality, can you tell in the middle of a litigation as an attorney, whether your client or the one on the other side, something's a little off?
You can often tell to some degree, and that's why it is so important to keep safety first. And that's one of the first things I say to my clients all the time, especially when they're announcing they want a divorce. We talk a lot about safety plans because you don't know how somebody's going to react. And then when you're in the midst of the divorce, and as we said, people can act incredibly irrationally, you want to make sure that people are in safe environments. Keeping people sometimes living in the same house, that can be very, very destructive and very triggering, obviously, for everyone. So it is really important to have, when they're represented by an attorney, and if you're in a position where you think that they're making threats or they're really kind of acting so out of the norm that you're scared for your client, you need to communicate with the attorney and make sure that your client stays safe.
Now, one of the factors here, Randy, that's a little different than most is the divorce is in 2018. The murder isn't until 2022. I mean, there's a lot that happens in between. These kids are growing, the twins are growing up. Obviously, they both have gotten remarried. Are you surprised in the allegations here of one ex plotting the murder of another ex 7 years later?
I am not surprised. I would think 25 to 30% of our business is post-divorce interaction, enforcement of custody orders, collection of past due child support, modification of the terms of parenting time. People, I think half the time people say this was a good divorce, it worked out, we're both happy, and half the time it's not. And my numbers may be off, but there's certainly a large portion of people that get divorced that it doesn't solve things for them, it doesn't solve their feelings, and they still want to get back at the other. And the other half of the time, or 60 or 70% of the time, people move along, but certainly this is not rare, these kind of feelings.
And Jacqueline, that's why around the holidays, you really like to relax, right? Because everyone's in such a good mood on both sides, right?
Oh yeah, I always say in Christmas, nobody likes, a summons in their stocking. Yes, it is a very, very difficult time. Obviously, holidays are very difficult. The beginning of school right now is a challenging time because people are adjusting. I know something, I read, and even in this case, people were fighting, this couple was fighting about where their children were going to go to school a month before school was beginning. So, it was obviously incredibly acrimonious. I think it did continue even after the fact. And you don't know what everyone's influences were, and what they were fighting about, but they obviously continued to fight and the anger remained.
So what's the secret, Randy, after all these years? What's the secret to get adults to be rational?
There is none.
A lot of good therapy, a lot of good family support, and sometimes space. Just, put yourself in the other side's shoes. Do something nice. Think about 5 years from now, how would you like to think back about how you acted and how you handled this adversity? If you can get out of your instant skin and say, myself 5 years from now would look back at this and say, you handle this the right way. That's what you got to do. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody gets therapy. Not everybody has good family support, but we recommend it all the time.
All right. Jacqueline Newman, Randy Kessler, awesome insight. Thanks so much. We'll see you again.
Okay, so.
Shanna Gardner was born in.
Okay, we got more on Shanna Gardner. We got more. I wonder, would Alan Jackson take this case? I don't know. That's an interesting concept there. Not that I wouldn't think about that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share a page. We're going to go through some documents real quick. Let me get it up. Okay, here is the motion. Let me scroll it up. I figured out how to do this, y'all. Y'all. Let me manually expand this a little bit. I have to do it big like this in order for me to read it because this dyslexia really sucks. So, comes now the defendant. This here is a motion to disqualify the 4th Judicial Court Office State of Attorney. Now come to defendant Mario through the undersigned yada 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 on February 6th of 23. Mario Fernandez Saldana was seized and detained by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Let me get it over here a little more. There we go. At which point the law enforcement executed a search warrant for his vehicle, cell phone, see yada yada, indicated that search warrant. I'm getting a lot of notifications all of a sudden. Let me do this. I'm going to do something. Hold on. Why can't I get the same for this one? Hold on. Okay. All right. So, February 6th, seized and detained, indicated a search warrant, law enforcement authorized to confiscate Mr. Fernandez Samsung Galaxy phone, any other cellular or electronic devices relevant to the homicide that maybe contain relevant evidence regarding Mr. Fernandez's communications to Gardner or other individuals involved in the homicide of Mr. Bredigan. In addition, any privileged communication between Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Garner, the defendant's wife and co-defendant in this case, undersigned counsel believe there were communications, i.e. text messages, emails, and voicemails that are protected by client privilege on the seized devices. February 7th, upon learning of the seizure of such devices, defense counsel immediately sent the assigned prosecutor, Assistant State Attorney, ASA, Christina Stifler, a letter alert of the privileged communications. It was filed. Accordingly, later that day, the undersigned counsel filed a motion for protective order and additional relief, which has been attached to Exhibit C. This is the motion. February 8th of 23, out of an abundance of caution, the defense counsel sent the assigned ASA another letter which identified the defendant's attorney and provided their office numbers, cell phone numbers, email addresses, and such information would assist in identifying and removing the privileged communications. On the 17th, the court conducted a hearing on the defense motion, at which time the state agreed that any and all communications between the defendant and counsel were protected by attorney-client privilege. The state further assured the court and the defense counsel that the taint team were being assembled and that all privileged communication would be redacted before providing the remaining data to the state. Specifically, ASA Christina told the court, quote, I believe Mr. Deiser's original motion did mention both attorney-client privilege and material communication in further conversations with Mr. Dreiser. Is that what it is? I can't even read that name. It's all grumbled together for me. Mr. Cox's state position is we agree that the state is not entitled, nor not necessarily entitled. So in other words, the state can't get that information. It is a private and privileged information. So it is protected. They have told me that there is attorney-client communication on their clients' phones. I am prepared to have whether a taint team or a magistrate judge just pull those electronically without ever opening them, encrypt them, and then we'll never see those. They are provided all of their phone numbers, so I'm sure there is some way we can make it happen technically. I believe we think Cellbrite would allow us to do that fairly easily. I have spoken with my detectives and team, and we have an outsourced to an outside agency that could provide the tank team to do that, unless they want a magistrate review the attorney-client privilege. We wouldn't even review the content. So they're saying they have no problem with that. Oh, thank you so much. I will go look at that in a second. The transcript of the hearing of the motion protective order and additional relief of blah, blah, blah cited. And additionally, the ASA and the ASA Stifler and ASA Lee Hutton were also present during the hearing on February 17th of 23. Joined the ASA Stifler is assuring the court and the court's defense that all attorney-client communications would be considered privileged and would be redacted by a tank team, specifically ASA Hutton. And this comment. So basically, why is there a problem? They're agreeing to it. Okay, both Mr. Drescher, I can't say his name, I don't know, Mr. D and Mr. Cox expressed concerns over the use of the tank team, citing prior disclosure of attorney-client privilege phone calls in other cases, and the state and the defense ultimately agreed the defense would provide the state with the names, numbers, and emails of all individuals with whom the defendant had privileged communication, and the state would have a tank team delete all such communication before the receipt and the review by the state. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm not, I've said it 3 times, not sure which way I've said it. Thus, exhibit cites and exhibits cited. Thus, on February 22nd, 20th, the court issued the order denying the defendant's motion for protective orders as it pertains to material communication between Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner. However, the motion pertains to the communications protected by attorney-client privilege. The court has stated below. The state has agreed that any communication protected by the attorney-client privilege will be removed from the devices by a non-state third party prior to downloading. This way, the law enforcement officials will not be able to view the content subject to the attorney-client privilege. Counsel for both sides are working together to identify sending, receiving phone numbers, emails, addresses, ... So they're working together. This is 63 pages. We're not going to be able to go through all 63 of these pages. So I don't have time. We're getting close to exhibit A. So let's see if I can get down to the. So I want to see get down to the resolve. Wherefore, for these reasons, Mr. Fernandez requests to assign the ASA and the entire Duval County State Attorney Office be disqualified from I got to look over here. Prosecuting the case against him. Additionally, to prevent further prejudice to the defense counsel requested. Okay. Portal immediately dedicated for all users. So the new taint team can be assembled to review all discovery and remove all privileged communications, including but not limited to emails, email attachment, calls, text messages, yada, yada, yada. So this is a very long document. I don't have time to go through all of it. We will have it. It is in Discord. All right. You're Flashfan. Will you do me a favor and communicate with me in Discord later, private message? So we're going to change the window views and go to motion to disqualify. Okay, here's the motion to disqualify. Okay, that's not what I want. I want this one. My bad. We just did that. We do have the state's Is that the same or do I not have it? Nope, not what I need. Let me share it this way. So this is the document right here that I'm going to try and make bigger. Okay. I'm going to have to turn over here to read. My apologies. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you. We are going through some court documents in the Stampin' Up Heiress charge with Red Room, Florida versus Shanna Gardner-Fernandez case. This is a document. I'm going to have to do it this way because I can't read it otherwise. I'm going to have to, I won't be able to see the chat for a minute. Sorry, guys. I have to embiggen it. So this document here is a legal response from the state of Florida opposing the motion the defendant Mario Fernandez Saldana to disqualify the 4th Judicial Court Circuit Office state attorney due to allegations and inadvertent disclosure of an advertent disclosure of attorney-client privilege. The state response of the motion: number one, the motion is based on third-party vendor error in uploading data without proper labeling. The prosecutor acted ethically but promptly addressing the oversight and disabling the access platform. No privileged communication were reviewed by the prosecuting team or the law enforcement. The state emphasizes the importance of integrity and professionalism in the legal proceedings. The state obtained a search warrant for the devices belonging to the defendant and co-defendant, leading to protective order regarding attorney-client communication. As an independent agent was appointed to filter and privilege communication from the data obtained. The state's only reviewed detainted data ensures no attorney-client privilege communications were accessed. The significant amount of data, approximately 4 terabytes, was uploaded in an e-discovery platform, but the original privilege emails remained unviewed and compressed. The allegations made by the defendant claims that the prosecutor's actions warranted disqualifications due to the alleged use of privileged information. The motion cites several cases to support the claim. The defendant argues that the prosecution expressed intent to use privileged information in trials. Wow. This is going to be a fight, y'all. Here, I can do it this way. This is going to be a fight. Burden and of providing the attorney-client privilege. The defendant must prove the existence of attorney-client privilege regarding the communications in question. The attorney-client privilege is designed to encourage open communication between the client and the attorney, but the burden of proof lies with the party claiming the privilege, so which the defendant is not significantly established for all documents. The defendant must demonstrate actual misconduct justified disqualifications. Okay. Privilege case shows that the disqualification denied when no benefit to the prosecution or determined to the defendant is evident. The state argues that the cited cases are factually distinguishable from the current case. So the defendant must show demonstrable actual prejudice resulting from the alleged misconduct. Disqualification is a drastic measure that should not be based on speculation or appearance of impropriety. I can't say that word, y'all. The prosecutor has not reviewed the document, emails, texts in question, negating the claim. So, the defendant requests a disqualification, lack of evidence of prejudicial information being shared within the office. The state's attorney office operates under exclusive direction, and disqualification should be rare. If the court finds a breach, it will review the emails in camera, determine if they contain privileged information. The state has already redirected access to the emails and texts in question. The defendant's motion is based on incorrect assumptions regarding the access and privilege of communication. The state argues that the breach was quickly identified, neutralized, and no grounds for disqualification exists. The state requests the court to deny the motion in its entirety and encourages the direct communication with the defense team in the future. Boy, I love it when I can get a summary of 60 or 40 pages. I don't know how many pages is here. It be a load of pages. Let me see. Yeah, that was 13 pages for that. Flashfan, you've been fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. Why is it not closing? Yes. Cancel. We're going to close this out. Nope. We don't need to save it. We got it. All right, guys. Let me see what all is going on. Angela, thank you so much. Wow. So I'm getting back to my Discord so I can figure it out. There's a lot of activity today. Thank you so much for all your drop-offs and everything. We're going to go here. This motion was a year ago. We are going to go ahead and watch this motion, but it ought to be good. It ought to be good. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go.
This will be all about the peace. Judge it all away. Put it around the way I say. She brought the case.
All right, so for this, with the understanding that we had a hearing set, it's not an attempt to delay or ask for continuance.
I'm gained up.
I'm not sure if the court was planning on ruling today. If you were not going to rule today, then maybe in between, if it became necessary for the court to do that.
I think what we'll do is we may do what's called a binge watch. Joe Schmo's schedule has changed. I don't know if and when he's going to land in Kerrville. If things change, then maybe tomorrow, depending on my schedule, let's look at maybe tomorrow doing a binge watch on this. Would you like to do that? Oh, yeah. Why don't we consider doing a binge watch and getting all caught up on this case? But we'll see. That's a good thought. I'd like to do that.
We can take it up if it's not.
Good one, She-Wolf.
I didn't know if we were going to get any direction from the court this morning. I'm okay kind of just moving forward and then addressing it either at the end or sometime tomorrow.
Well, let me ask, did the state have a chance to read it?
Yeah, sure.
What's your position?
We object to having the court review our personal cell phones without any legal basis.
All right. Let's take that one up then. So we're on the motion for in-camera inspection. I had some questions after reading it. So I'm going to paragraph 10. There are 4 cell phones. Has the defense done a public records request to get this information?
No. So the text message that was attached to the motion, did you see that, Ron?
Yes.
Okay. It was a text message that was provided to me Tuesday morning. And it is in relation, and it will be admitted into evidence this afternoon, and it's cropped and it's directly on point and in relation to what we learned at a deposition between Ms. Stifler, the deposition of Lindsay Butler, communication between her and Ms. Stifler. I am trying to be as non-intrusive as possible to that, but I don't know that there's not more communication above that or below that. We know that that communication says that Ms. reviewed it, Hutton reviewed it, I reviewed it, not privileged. So one of the prongs that we have to face here on this disqualification issue is not just what Ms. Stifler was in possession of, what Ms. Stifler plans on using, but what she discussed within the office. So I can only assume that there may be emails or conversations between Ms. Stifler and Ms. Rahi, Ms. Stifler and Mr. Hutton, Ms. Rahi and Mr. Hutton, back and forth, and all three were all on a text chain and or email chain. So if there's not, and they represent that, then that's fine. They can make that representation. If there is, and it could be work product, then I don't want to see it. But if it's communications that are directly to this issue, and the court were to look at them and say, no, I think the defense counsel is entitled to see how you possibly could have made this privilege determination, and there's going to be a testimony about that today, then we're entitled to see it if the court thinks it's appropriate. I limited it, I thought, and tailored it very narrowly to just days around June 30th, the day before, and I think to the day after July 1st, excuse me. And the text messages between Ms. Butler and Ms. Stifler are from the time we filed the motion until the time we filed the motion for protective order in February, and the time that we filed our motion to disqualify. Again, I don't know what I don't know. I would only assume there can't be that many between a prosecutor and agent at ATF, but again, I don't think it's that, it's minimally intrusive for the court to review those and determine, nope, nothing in there that you're entitled to, or yes, there is something you're entitled to.
Okay. So the state is just having a blanket objection. You're not recognizing that there are public records potentially that are contained within your communications related to this case.
Of course there are. They haven't made a public records request. They're asking for the court, absent a public record request, to look at information that we don't even know what's there. It's talking about sitting judges and going through their cell phones. We objected this completely. There was no indication there was any email or text messages between any of these people. There were the cited text that we voluntarily shared with defense counsel, which by the way was offered months ago to the defense, who then said, oh, we just got it last week, when they were offered it months ago. Complete misrepresentation, first of all. Second of all, there's no indication that there was any communication between anyone. The text message says, I asked them, and they said it's not privileged. The court finds that the two items that are in dispute are not privileged. It's inquiry. Doesn't matter what we talk about. If the court finds it's privileged, then maybe perhaps further knowledge of people within the state attorney's office is potentially discoverable. Certainly not at this point, and certainly not in the way that they've asked for.
Okay, so I agree to that extent. I think that you need to do a public records request. And I think that after that, if there's an objection, they turn over something and you believe that there's more, you want the court to review it, I will. Okay, I think that's the procedure. Okay, all right, so let's move past that. I'm gonna hold what's been filed on docket 187 in advance, and then you can supplement as you see fit. If you decide to go forward with it, fine. If you don't, let me know.
The court should deny it. And then if there's something in the public records request that we can litigate, then it can be refiled. This should be denied. In the state's view.
Okay, I'm not doing that. I believe that based on their exhibit, there is at least, it was never, that's why I asked the question. It wasn't clear. Like if you look at the last paragraph, what defense is asking you to do is to review it. That is an appropriate avenue for me to resolve objectionable material. But the condition precedent hasn't taken place. There hasn't been a public records request, so I'm gonna hold it in advance. If they want to go forward with it and they're not satisfied with the public records request, then I will go forward. And if it doesn't need to be reviewed, then it's moved. Come on. So I'm gonna hold this one.
Maud, can somebody please help Evangeline with this? Evangeline, what you may have to do is don't go through your YouTube app. Go to your whatever you use for your internet, Chrome or whatever, and then go to youtube.com. Make sure you sign in there, and that's where you might be able, that may be easier for you. So basically, you're going to go through your search engine, go into youtube.com, make sure you're in your YouTube account from there. Don't go through the app. Go through the website, and that may actually make it a whole lot easier for you to do that, babe. I don't know why, I don't know why the app is a pain in the butt. Thank you so much.
approach the court for a moment, right?
Yes.
For those of you who are just joining, Miss Tinkatude is our newest mod. Woohoo! She's got her blue wrench. Y'all behave now, Frankie. You better behave because
Now moving
time
to
your butt
the
out.
Motion to disqualify the Fourth Judicial Circuit. Mr. Dreiser, how would you like to proceed?
We're just prepared to call our first witness.
Okay.
If I have just some housekeeping for the court. I have a moment.
Yes.
Walk over here, and the witness is the leader.
Sure.
You know, we do have a PowerPoint that coincides with testimony that's being offered, it's loaded up. I did notify courtroom staff, I just want to let the court know so that way if your monitor needed to be turned on, that way you were aware.
Oh, I see it. Thank you. Is there, have y'all gone over it with the state? Are there any objections to it?
I don't, no, we haven't seen it. The party, defense counsel has represented that it contains only either case law or the exhibits that have been stipulated to evidence.
That's right.
That's the case.
Are you admitting it?
No, Your Honor, I'm admitting the documents contained in it. In fact, for example, and this will go kind of to the housekeeping, I will admit the search warrant that took place in this case. On the PowerPoint, it's just the footnote of one page, right? I don't have 14 slides or 14 pages. But in evidence, the whole entire warrant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have already been admitted into evidence as docket line 163, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's the material that we gave you, Your Honor. In regards to the transcript, both parties have agreed, and you're in possession of Agent Nazario's transcript and Agent Butler's transcript, and we would incorporate and make that part of this record.
Okay. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we're in agreement.
Okay.
And we intend on entering the next numbered exhibit as a 6, so that I think that's the cleanest record to keep everything together. And I've discussed this with the clerk, unless the court has an objection. I'll have exhibit 6, 7, 8, all the way through 19. So when I say, Your Honor, this has been marked as exhibit 6, I'm going to then just enter it into evidence as I go through it with our witness. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And at this time, Your Honor, the defense would call Shannon Day to the stand.
Shannon Day, please.
Ma'am, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
This thing, this one.
We're not used to coming to this stuff. May we proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Day, would you introduce yourself?
My name is Shannon Day. I'm an attorney at the Law Office of Tony Dreiser and Hill, and I have been working on Mr. Fernandez's case.
And I know everyone in the courtroom knows this, and it's obvious, but the Sony Dreiser and Hill is Frank Sony, Jesse Dreiser, and James Hill.
Yes.
And how long have you been working for our firm?
Almost 5 years.
Are you
Just a little bit closer. Thank you.
Are you intimately aware of the details of the Fernandez investigation and case?
Yes.
When did Mr. Fernandez become a client of our firm?
August 23rd, 2022.
And how do you know that?
I was present when he signed the contract.
And when he signed the contract, is that an employment agreement?
Yes.
Meaning that's when he hired our firm to represent him?
Yes.
And did he sign that contract?
Yes.
And at that time, did he pay us a fee?
Yes.
When Mr. Fernandez retained our office, even in that very first meeting, were there anybody else who was not a lawyer present during that meeting?
No.
Were you present during those meetings?
Yes.
And every time, and let me ask you this, Ms. Day, how did we communicate with Mr. Fernandez on that day and every day moving forward?
In person, over the phone, text message, and email.
And when we would communicate with Mr. Fernandez in person, did we ever have anybody else who was not a lawyer present at those meetings?
No.
When we would email Mr. Fernandez, did we ever include any non-lawyers or family members on those emails?
No.
And were the emails intended to be confidential and privileged?
Yes.
Were the emails titled?
This kind of reminds me of a cross between Donna Adelson, Karen Reed, and who else, guys? It's kind of a, yeah. Karen Reed, in the sense that there's claims of impropriety within the police department and the fact that there's a shite ton of money in the the defendant Garner has, and then of course it's a red room for hire over a divorce and children. So yeah, this is crazy.
As such.
Yes.
In these communications, did we conduct substantive conversations?
Yes.
And discuss substantive issues?
Yes.
The emails that I'm referring to, in no way am I asking you to at all discuss. Are those the same emails that we have furnished to Judge Foster and to Judge Cox?
Yes.
Is your slide, is your screen working with that?
Yes.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Day, what am I showing you?
This is a redacted email from Mario to me, you, and Mr. Hill.
And is this an example of how we would title our emails?
Yes.
Is this a redacted email that was provided unredacted to the court?
Yes.
And is this Exhibit 2 that's already in evidence?
I believe it's 3.
3? Okay. And the next slide, please. What am I showing you now, Ms. Day?
This is another redacted email from Mario to me, you, and Mr. Hill.
And do you believe this is Exhibit?
Okay, guys, let's do this. It is now after 11 o'clock. We need to go over to although I love the engagement in this live, thank you so much. We need to go over to the Ali trial. We can continue watching this over there. That we can definitely continue watching all this over there and doing that. So what I need to do is add a redirect, and for some reason it's not coming up. It's not coming up. I don't know why. Dagnabbit. Okay, I can't do a redirect. For some reason, it is not allowing me. I'm going to make sure. Give me a split second. I need to make sure that my live is properly set up. But we're going to go over to the Ali trial verdict watch. Let me get back to my thing here. That's why. It's the wrong date. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get that live up and running. And then we're going to go over to that live. And I don't know why that's up and showing. Put me on stage. And what I'm going to do is get that live up and going, and then we'll teleport over there and continue this. I really appreciate everybody. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Now that I got this live, go live, go play live. Just give me a minute. Just give me a second. I got to get that going. It may be. I think you're right, June, with that. Okay, so guys, we're going to go ahead and end this stream. I'm pausing this here. We're going to pick all this up over during the verdict watch of the Ali trial. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. You are awesome. We appreciate every single one of you. We appreciate all of your engagement and all your super chats and everything. So we will continue everything over in the next trial. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you in a few seconds. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.